before we're done, we still have one promise to keep. If we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn sure we'll avenge it. Whatever it takes.
We're in the end game now. That's right. We are getting closer and closer by the minute. Rocking that MCU merch already. Check this out. We got Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet. I am so excited for Thursday, guys. Hey guys, PopGamer1202 here, only a few days out from the official release of Avengers Endgame, which made its world premiere in LA last night, and I am super excited to see the movie for myself on Thursday. I just got done watching this superhero parody of We Don't Start the Fire that the Avengers cast performed on Jimmy Fallon. And it really hit me, because the MCU means so much to me. Like, we've come such a long way on this journey, and I couldn't be more proud of getting the chance to be a part of this universe. A universe that's stretched over 22 films now, which is absolutely insane. It's been a fun ride, but this is indeed the end game. It's the end of the Infinity Saga, and we're finally here. I am not ready, but so ready at the exact same time. However, before we talk about Avengers Endgame, we've got to talk about the other 3 Avengers films on the last stop of our Endgame build-up series. Thank you for joining me on this journey, but this is the last checkpoint. If you enjoy, make sure to show support down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you do, feel free to hit that little bell icon to be notified whenever I upload. We're in the end game now. Let's do this. Before we get into talking about the Avengers, I just gotta say, check out the Avengers social media on Instagram and Twitter for some awesome clips and photos from the premiere last night. Lots of stuff to warm a Marvel's fan heart, you know? Alright, let's jump into talking about Joss Whedon's 2012 The Avengers. So this was the 6th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and released in May of 2012, receiving a 92% from Rotten Tomatoes and drawing in a box office of over $623 million. It was directed by Joss Whedon and featured an all-star cast including Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, Samuel L. Jackson, and Jeremy Renner. So this is the first place in the MCU where all of the stories are brought together. We have the 4 heroes of the MCU, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and the Hulk teaming up for the first time. Basically, after falling from the Bifrost Bridge at the end of Thor, Loki ends up on a planet run by Thanos. The Mad Titan gives Loki an army and recruits him to use the Tesseract, which holds the Space Stone, one of the 6 Infinity Stones, to take over Earth. And Loki is directed to bring that Tesseract back to him. After breaking into a S.H.I.E.L.D. base and using his scepter to successfully mind control Clint Barton, Hawkeye, and Eric Selvig, Loki leaves Thanos' army, the Chitauri, into the destruction of New York. Luckily, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, has a little something up his sleeve called the Avengers Initiative, which recruits Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, the Hulk, and Black Widow to save the city. The 5 of them, alongside Hawkeye, team up and set aside their differences to take down Loki and prove that if they can't save the Earth, you can be darn sure they'll avenge it. The second film of the Avengers Trilogy, Avengers Age of Ultron, was the 11th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and released in May of 2015, receiving a 75% from Rotten Tomatoes and drawing in a box office of over $429 million. This one was also directed by Joss Whedon and takes place a few years after the original Avengers. Basically, this film kicks off with the Avengers assembling once again to take down a Hydra base. The goal of this is for the Avengers to successfully secure Loki's scepter, but they face more of a threat than expected when they meet 2 twins who were used as advanced test subjects and turned into Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. One of them can mess with people's mind and the other can run really fast. What more do villains need? Throughout the movie, Scarlet Witch takes control of the Avengers' minds, and they each see their own visions. Tony Stark, closer to the beginning of the film, sees a vision of himself walking over the dead Avengers' bodies. From there, he refers to himself as the man that killed the Avengers. This vision sits with him for the rest of the MCU. Steve Rogers is thrown back to the end of World War II, where he finally gets his dance with Peggy. Thor sees the future of Asgard as Ragnarok, a movie that comes later in the universe. Hawkeye walks off unscratched. The Hulk just goes absolutely insane and tries to destroy the city. So basically, the Avengers succeed, and whilst hosting a reunion party, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner are working in the lab when they open up Loki's scepter to reveal the Mind Stone, one of the 6 Infinity Stones. Tony Stark believes that he can use this to create artificial intelligence and create a shield around the Earth. From there, he creates Ultron, which turns out to be a terrible idea as he kind of comes to life and sees the threat that the Avengers have on the world as well as the entire human race. So, he builds himself his own body out of Tony Stark's Iron Legion parts, and, well, threatens to destroy the Avengers and then blow up the world. He plans on doing this by using vibranium, the strongest metal in the world that also produced Captain America's shield, to build a destructive weapon and drop an entire city from the sky that could indeed produce global extinction. The Avengers, of course, are here to stop him, so they create Vision from the minds of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, with the voice of Jarvis and the Mind Stone at the source of his power to help defeat Ultron. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, the two twins, realize that they're on the wrong side of history and join in on the fight. The Avengers do defeat Ultron, but as an entire city rises to the sky, they are worried that they may not be able to save everyone. That's when Nick Fury and Maria Hill come in with Rhodey and the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. To get everybody off of the city. Thor and Iron Man team up to bring the city back down, and Quicksilver sacrifices himself for Hawkeye, which sends Scarlet Witch into a berserking frenzy.
You didn't see that coming.
All of the Avengers go their separate way, while Black Widow and Captain America look to train the new Avengers. This movie plays a huge part in the plot of Captain America Civil War. Of course, I've talked about every movie in between the Avengers films in previous videos in this Endgame build-up series, so go check some of those out. There's a playlist dedicated to it. Yeah. So now we're talking about the big one, Avengers Infinity War. This was the 19th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and released in April of 2018, receiving an 85% from Rotten Tomatoes and drawing in a box office over $664 million. It was directed by Joe and Anthony Russo and is the culmination of the entire MCU. At the end of Age of Ultron, Thanos the Mad Titan decided, fine, I'll do it myself, and now in Infinity War, we see him on a conquest to collect all 6 Infinity Stones, and if he does, he can wipe out half of the universe with the snap of his finger. He obtains the power. First, he obtains the Power Stone by wiping out the Nova Corps and all of Xandar, and then he attacks Thor's ship at the end of Ragnarok and kills Loki to get the Space Stone. The Hulk tries to stop Thanos, but fails and is sent back down to Earth, where he meets Doctor Strange and reunites with Tony Stark. The Guardians of the Galaxy take in Thor, and Thor goes off with Rocket and Groot to make a new weapon to kill Thanos, the Stormbreaker. The rest of the Guardians end up running into Tony Stark, Peter Parker, and Doctor Strange on the planet Titan, Thanos' home planet, which suffered millions of years ago. Thanos' home planet, of course. And then back down on Earth, Captain America is called up by Bruce Banner to save Scarlet Witch and Vision, as Vision has one of the Infinity Stones. Thanos captures Gamora and brings her to capture the... Thanos also captures the Soul Stone and then almost kills Tony Stark, but So first, Thanos secures the Power Stone by wiping out Xandar and the Nova Corps. Then at the end of Thor Ragnarok, he wipes out Thor's ship. Then at the end of Ragnarok, Thanos wipes out all of Thor's ship and kills Loki to secure the Space Stone. The Hulk tries to defeat Thanos, but is sent back down to Earth after he fails and turns back into Bruce Banner, who meets Doctor Strange and Wong and then reunites with Tony Stark. Spider-Man swings in to save the day, and him, alongside Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, are sent up into space to stop Thanos. Meanwhile, the Guardians of the Galaxy bring in Thor, who goes his separate ways with Rocket and Groot to create the Stormbreaker, a Thanos-killing weapon. And the rest of the Guardians go to nowhere to try to stop Thanos from obtaining the Reality Stone from the Collector. But this goal ultimately fails, and Gamora is captured by Thanos and brought to Thanos' ship, where she sees Nebula being torn apart. In an effort to save her sister, Gamora agrees to show Thanos the map to the Soul Stone. Thanos uses her and sacrifices her at the hands of the Red Skull, who's guarding the Soul Stone, and then gets the Soul Stone. With 4 down and 2 more to go, Thanos heads back to Titan, where Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the rest of the Guardians are waiting for an attack. Previously, they all teamed up with the common goal of having Thanos die, and Doctor Strange looked into the future and saw 14,605 outcomes or something like that to how this war could end. However, the Avengers only win 1. They almost have the gauntlet off of Thanos when Peter Quill realizes about Gamora's death and goes crazy on Thanos, who secures the gauntlet and pretty much wipes them all out. Then he stabs Tony Stark, and when Doctor Strange thinks that it's it for Iron Man, he sacrifices the Time Stone to save Stark and says, well, we're in the endgame now. Earlier in the movie, Bruce Banner called up Captain America, who's with Black Widow and Falcon, who have been in hiding since the events of Civil War. The 3 of them save Scarlet Witch and Vision, and then bring them to Wakanda to save Vision from being defeated by Thanos' children, who are after the Mind Stone in Vision's head. Black Panther and Winter Soldier are there now, but things aren't looking so well when the children of Thanos launch an army of space dogs into Wakanda, and, well, you know, Wakanda forever. Thor makes his entrance with the Stormbreaker alongside Rocket and Groot, who are here to save the day. And then Thanos arrives in Wakanda after defeating the rest of the men on Titan. And then Scarlet Witch is forced into a position where she has to wipe out Vision herself. And in an emotional moment between the two, Scarlet Witch succeeds until Thanos comes up with the Time Stone and is like, well, psych! And turns back time, takes the Mind Stone, and there you have all 6 stones on the gauntlet of Thanos. One of the craziest endings in the history of the MCU. Thor attempts to kill Thanos, but ultimately should have gone for the head, and Thanos snaps his finger, wiping out half of the universe. This includes everyone on Titan except for Tony Stark and Nebula, and then a bunch of people we know, like Winter Soldier, Falcon. In the end credits scene, we see the dusting away of Maria Hill and Nick Fury as well, who just gets enough time to call up Captain Marvel on a pager, and that builds up to Captain Marvel and then Avengers Endgame. Now going into Endgame, this is the Avengers trying to fix their failure. They have to bring everybody back. They have to defeat Thanos once and for all. The original 6 Avengers are all left standing. They must team together once again, bring the Avengers back to succeed in this war. If I had more time to talk about everything that's happened across the Avengers Trilogy, I would, because a lot of that is really important. But let's be honest, we've all seen the movies. You guys have already been on your marathons building into Endgame, so I don't really have to, but I do want to read the synopsis for Avengers Endgame, okay? So, the great course of events set in motion by Thanos that wiped out half the universe and fractured the Avengers' ranks compels the remaining Avengers to take one final stand in Marvel Studios' grand conclusion to 22 films, Avengers Endgame. The past 22 films have been labeled the Infinity Saga. This is it, guys. This is the Endgame. It's gonna be insane. But this is a ranking video. I didn't forget about that. It's time to rank the Avengers Trilogy from worst to best. I think you guys have a pretty good idea of how I'm gonna rank these, Kicking us off at number 3 is Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, what I've always said about this movie is that it's kind of the bridge of the MCU. All of the Avengers movies kind of act as bridges because there's so much that happens in between, and then this is kind of the meetup points of the Avengers once again. But Avengers Age of Ultron is something special because it focuses less on its own story and focuses on expanding the universe even more and building up to future plot points, and it does that sort of thing well. So much is thrown at us in this movie that sets up for the second half of the MCU. And this movie features those epic Avengers moments, but unfortunately they are already pulled off in the first one, so they didn't feel as epic. This film doesn't near feel as epic as the first Avengers, and that's why it's kind of lowest on my list. It's still a really enjoyable film, but it just doesn't quite hit that awesomeness level that it probably could have. I do really enjoy some of the character stuff, especially with Hawkeye and the relationship between Black Widow and the Hulk. Every character kind of gets their moment to shine, just like the first Avengers film. And we've already been introduced to all of these characters. This is just their story being expanded and more fun dialogue to experiment with, just more stuff to present these characters, a new challenger. Ultron was marketed as a really dark villain, but he kind of turned into more of that like dark comedy side of things. But I enjoyed Ultron as a villain. I thought he did propose a threat, and the fact that this wasn't just someone who came from another planet that wanted to destroy the universe, but Tony Stark's own creation, it really sets a new take on the possibilities of the MCU. This film not only tears the Avengers apart, it puts them back together again in a way that you're out of your seat. It's a super suspenseful movie with, as I've said about a lot of other films inside of the MCU, a lot of heart behind it. You can't take some of the fight scenes in this movie for granted, like the Hulkbuster versus Hulk fight scene or the final battle with Ultron at the end. It's amazing. And you didn't see that coming? Well, that is honestly a really emotional line. Unfortunately, Quicksilver is never really referenced again in the MCU after this, and he really could have had a lot more potential to be a good hero if they didn't kill him off in the first movie. But it really did do well for Scarlet Witch's story, who kind of became a really fun part of the MCU. The fact that we see Thanos for the first time getting ready to launch into battle at the end of this film, and we know things are going to go down, it's awesome. Then coming in at number 2, I have the original Avengers. This is every comic book fan's dream. It's the 6 heroes of the MCU teaming up to take down Loki for the very first time. I still get chills when they circle up at the end. That's such an amazing scene. And this film is just so epic. So many epic moments that are pulled off so nicely. And Joss Whedon really knows how to deliver a bunch of characters in a sense that it works and that it seems right, you know? This film really shows us that there are stakes and that this is an entire universe and not just standalone films. It brings everyone from what the MCU is already introduced to together to take down a really formidable villain in Loki. Loki is one of the best villains in the MCU, if I do say so myself. I still get excited when I watch this movie, and nothing will ever beat the epicness of the first Avengers film.
I'm bringing the party to you.
I don't see how that's a party.
Dr. Banner, now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry.
Hold on.
You can tell that the director and everyone behind this film really cared about delivering quite the experience for the fans, and that's exactly what they did. It has the heart, it has the humor, and it has the epicness. it's awesome. Plus, it kicks off something bigger. At number 1, we have Avengers Infinity War. This poster is not going to be here come tomorrow, guys. I'm replacing it with Avengers Endgame poster. Goodbye, Infinity War poster. Get your finals goodbye in now, guys. But anyways, this film is just so epic. It's the culmination of the MCU. All of the characters from the universe teaming up to battle Thanos. A huge villain in the MCU. Someone that we've known of that's kind of been sitting in the shadows and manipulating the entire plot of the universe so far. This film throws a huge curveball with the ending. And like I said with Avengers, it really shows that there are stakes here. And there's some moments in this movie that give you chills, that have you out of your seat, that have you in tears. Just so much happens in this film. Now, what sucks is that Captain America kind of takes a backseat in this one, and I do have problems with this film, but they're overlooked by all of the awesomeness that this film introduces. I still get chills when Thor enters Wakanda, guys. One of the best scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. By far the best entrance in the MCU. Bringing all these characters together in a way that it's just so hyped. And the fact that now we get Endgame is so exciting. This entire movie, Infinity War, is a Thanos character arc. And Thanos is a villain that you feel for. You understand why he's doing what he's doing, and you know that he opposes a real threat. After the events of Civil War, the Avengers are kind of split up, so it's not exactly the Avengers anymore. It's just the MCU versus the world.
I know what it's like to lose. Feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail nonetheless. I ask you, to what end? Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Or should I say, I am.
I love all of these films. I love the Avengers movies. I love the entire MCU. There's not a single film in this universe that I necessarily hate. In fact, I enjoy watching all of them. Like I said, they're a huge part of my life. Just this universe means so much to me. And, well, we're in the endgame now. I'm just going to end the video there. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to follow me on Twitter at PopGamer1202, where I'm also counting down to endgame. Thanks for joining me on this journey, and tomorrow we'll be talking about my thoughts and predictions for Endgame. Should be exciting. Bye! I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Fun, just don't.